So these pictures we went over last week, they are from the Rape of Nanking, when the Japanese had gone into China, took over China's capital, which at the time was Nanking. That's not the capital anymore. Today it is Beijing. But they really just kind of came in and brutally slaughtered several of the Chinese, and the U.S. was not happy about it, and as a result, put an embargo on all their supplies that they were sending to the Japanese. An embargo means to stop trading. Like, we are going to embargo any supplies that we send to you, aka we're no longer going to send them to you anymore. And yesterday I had you guys ask or answer the question of, if you were in Imperial Japan, what would you do? And I always get mixed responses. I have some people who are like, I would attack the United States because that's kind of what you have to do. I have other people who respond something along the lines of, the U.S. is very powerful. Japan probably shouldn't, mess with the United States. They should probably butt out. You have other people who are like, Japan should try, negotiating some type of deal with the United States before, escalating to war. And frankly, if you answered anything along those lines, you're technically all correct. That's exactly what Japan is going to try and do. So Japan is eventually going to put troops into Indochina to go after rubber. Again, this was another resource and supply that the Japanese needed. They had gone into China, particularly Manchuria, because they wanted the steel. Now they're going to go down even further south to get more resources that they need. Rubber, as we know, is used for tires, things like that. The problem with going into Indochina is this. This also made them an easy striking distance to the British ships. In 1940, Japan had signed onto a treaty with the Axis powers. So in 1940, they're Japanese. They're already allied with Hitler from Germany and Mussolini from Italy. We're now in 1941. The fact that the Japanese are going further south into Asia, and the fact that they have signed this, Axis treaty to be aligned with Hitler and Mussolini, signals to the British, this ain't good. The fact that Japan is now going to be in striking distance of the British when they're already at war with who's now Japan's ally, this is definitely a huge problem. So by July of 1941, FDR is going to put a freeze on all oil and steel that they're going to import to Japan. And as we saw in that document A from yesterday, the Japanese relied very heavily on imports, but not just imports from countries, imports from the United States. By the time we hit 1941, pretty much those exports or those imports that the Japanese got from the U.S. are pretty much non-existent. So as we go from 1937 to 1941, the imports that the Japanese are getting less and less and less, and the ones that they're getting from the United States are pretty much becoming non-existent. And then FDR, he's also going to have General Douglas MacArthur, who becomes a really famous general for the U.S. throughout World War II, to the Philippines to help build up a defense. The Philippines at this time was a territory that was controlled by the United States. Not anymore. The Philippines officially gained their independence in 1946, but at this time, the Philippines, because it was a U.S. territory, the U.S. could easily send troops there to hopefully protect either themselves, the British, or even fight against the Japanese if necessary. So then Japanese sort of realize, hey, we got to make a deal here. Again, no one really wants to go to war. War is really always supposed to be sort of a last-minute result. But they decide that they're going to try to maybe work out a little bit of a deal with the United States. So FDR sort of reaches out to the Japanese and says, listen, I'll make you a deal. I will lift the embargo on the oil and steel. So right now, he's not giving them any oil and steel. He knows that the Japanese are in desperate need of it. So FDR tells Japanese, hey, if you want this oil and steel, we'll trade with you yet again. However, you have to leave Indochina. And the reason that they're really having an emphasis on Indochina is because in Indochina, the Japanese are within striking distance of the British. Again, even though the United States isn't officially involved in the war, they're technically neutral and isolationists at this time. They want the British to win, right? They don't want to see Germany and Italy take over. So they're going to be kind of, keeping a close eye on everything that's going on in Southeast Asia. They're also going to be consulting with the British as well of, hey, these are the things that we're doing. And Japan, they're going to go ahead and agree to the deal. They're like, listen, what we want are oil and steel. We want our imports back. So they're like, okay, we'll withdraw, but you have to sell us at least 1 million tons of oil, which is quite a bit. FDR is going to consider it. He's going to talk to the British about it. He's also going to kind of talk to the Chinese. The Chinese are involved, but not really. They're not a big power player like the British were. And basically, the British and the Chinese, they're not for it. For the Chinese, it's like the Japanese came in for no reason. Look what they did to all of our people, especially at Nanking. And the British at this point, they just don't trust the Japanese because they once trusted somebody else. That guy's name was Hitler at the Munich conference, and it failed completely. So as a result, FDR can't make that deal with the Japanese, and Japan's going to send even more troops into Indochina. FDR is then going to demand their withdrawal. Japan considers this an insult and prepares for a strike. So where do they decide to strike? They decide to strike at Pearl Harbor. This question kind of came up yesterday. Why Pearl Harbor? Why not somewhere else? You have to think about where Japan is specifically located. It's to the west of the United States. Between Japan and the United States is the Pacific Ocean, which is completely massive. And in the Pacific Ocean, there's not a whole lot except for a few random islands, one of those being Hawaii. In 1941, Hawaii was not a it was not a state. It was just a territory. Hawaii doesn't officially become a state until 1959. And Pearl Harbor was a military base. So for the Japanese, they were like, listen, if we're going to hit the U.S. where it hurts, we're going to have to hit them at a military base. And because Pearl Harbor was in close proximity to Japan, they decided to go ahead and attack there. So this was the famous newspaper that came out, Oahu bombed by Japanese planes. Oahu is the island where Pearl Harbor is. It's also where the capital, Honolulu, exists. There are a total of 7 islands. Oahu is one of the smaller ones that's not considered the big island. So Japan is going to strike at 7:55 a.m. on Sunday, December 7th, 1841. This, of course, is known as Pearl Harbor, or the attack on Pearl Harbor. The following day, FDR, in his very famous speech, calls it a date which will live in infamy, and he officially asked for the United States and Congress to declare war, which they do. So following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States officially enters into World War II, and of course they're going to join the side of the British and the French. The strategy when the Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor, it was to destroy fleet and territory did not matter, and it had to be a surprise attack. Again, if you bomb an empty land, it's not that big of a deal. If you can destroy battleships or warships, that's obviously going to be a lot more important. So for the Japanese, that was the main goal, was to destroy as much military possessions as possible. Yeah, a total of 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 6 other vessels, as well as 188 airplanes killed or destroyed, and over 2,400 Americans had officially been killed at Pearl Harbor. The question always comes up, was the U.S. aware that Pearl Harbor was going to happen? And the answer is yes, they were. About 2 months prior to this date, the U.S. had been getting intel that Japan was looking to attack. But because of the embargo, the U.S. was like, well, the Japanese don't have, the resources, the material to go ahead and attack. Well, they did. They pretty much used everything that they had to, attack the United States at the military base of Pearl Harbor. So the U.S. was aware, just didn't think it was actually a possibility until it officially happened. Attached with these notes, I have a clip from the movie Pearl Harbor that came out in the early 2000s. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long. It just shows you a little bit of the attack. Obviously, it's not a documentary, so it's just a replica, or however you want to phrase it. I would say in total in that movie, the attack scene's probably like 45 minutes long. It has different components to it. But I'm just going to kind of have you look at that 7-8 minute clip so you can kind of get an idea of the surprise attack that the Japanese had put on the Americans. I had a student, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, whose grandfather was at Pearl Harbor when it was attacked, and he survived it, and would tell stories of how you would try to save, your fellow man, and he ended up dying, or, there was only so much you could do, but it was a complete surprise to the men that were there, and they really didn't see it coming.